Hi there, it's Brad with Engadget, and we are coming to you today with the Samsung Replenish. This is the latest phone on Sprint that's green. It's a very eco-friendly phone made of recycled materials, and it's not the first that we've seen of its kind, and we highly doubt that it'll be the last. But it's got one thing going for it that we haven't seen before, and that is Android. Okay, and there's this cool optional solar charging panel that acts as a battery cover, and that's not something you see every day either, but we digress. So first, let's check out the phone. The Replenish has a portrait QWERTY, which does limit how much space you can have on the screen. On the top here, we've got a 2.8-inch display. It's a QVGA screen, which frankly, when you turn it on, just completely reeks of pixelation and cheapness. But we're going to get more into that in just a moment. Now, underneath that, dividing the top and the bottom parts of the phone, we see the standard quartet, where we have menu, home, back, and search. So those are things that you see on pretty much any Android. There's very few that don't have it. Moving over to the left-hand side here, we've got the volume rocker, and there's also a spot to hook on a lanyard if you're into that sort of thing. Also a 3.5mm headphone jack and the power button to unlock the screen and completely turn it off. As far as location on here, with as tall as the phone is, we would have preferred to see that just somewhere around here, but it's still not bad up on the top right. I mean, it's still very easy to reach, at least it's not over here. So for me, just having it in my left hand, it's a good spot for me. Certainly if you're holding it with your right hand, that's a different story. But going over to the right hand side of the phone, we have the dedicated camera button. And we also have voice control. Voice control is another unique button that you don't always see on an Android. And you know, it's convenient, but it also takes up the most coveted spot on the phone, one that I would like to have the power button at instead. But it's hard to justify having this button right there on the side when you've got the long press on the search, and then you've also got this speech to text right down here. And so when you are pressing either of these buttons, you can still access voice dial. So it's kind of silly to have this third option right there on the top right. So on the back side, we have the 2-megapixel camera with a rather tiny speaker grill. So diving into the back of the phone, we go underneath the battery cover here. Whoops. And we see got just the battery, not much going on there, and then the micro SD card. That included is a 2GB card, but you can put in your own. That goes all the way up to 32 if you prefer. Taking a closer look at the screen now, as you can see, there's a little recycle icon that looks like it's in a cloud. That's really, really cute. As a QVGA screen though, this means you're looking at 240 by 320 resolution, which causes the screen to ooze with pixelation. Maybe hard to see from this far away and on the video, but the pixelation is not really hidden at all. You don't have to look very close to actually see it coming out of the screen, which makes us feel like we're stepping in time, going back a few years, say to 2008, back when you would find QVGA screens as a more of a commonplace kind of display. But now that we've got QHD and some of the standard ones, even HVGA is low end nowadays. Going with the QVGA just seems utterly cheap and ridiculous. Now you can also, let's turn the screen off here. You can see a little bit of scratching here. Now I promise I was not throwing the phone against the wall or on the floor or putting it next to my keys or anything like that. That is just normal use, putting it in my pocket for just under a week. And it already looks like that. So, while I'm not pushing screen protectors here, you would definitely want to just take some measures to make sure that this doesn't happen so easily on your phone if you choose to get the Replenish. So, now one other thing, just to point out the QVGA display and compare it, let's put it up next to the LG Revolution, which is 480 by 800. And these are on full brightness right now. So you can just tell how much more crisp the Revolution is. And now let's go into something with the white screen here. Okay. So that just gives you a little comparison of the two different displays and how different they look when they're right next to each other. Okay. The keyboard is okay, but it's not great. All the keys are bubbled up, which in theory makes them easier to press. And for us, the keys were already so small that bubbled up keys only made a small, trivial difference. So my fingers were constantly smushing into more than one key at the same time. For portrait quality, size is of the essence, so we can understand Samsung choosing not to have a number row up here on the top. You don't want to make the screen any smaller. Instead, Samsung opted just to have a keypad style. So that one, while we would like to see a dedicated number row, we totally understand why it was just not possible without sacrificing the screen size. And last, we'll do a comparison between different phones here. So we saw the LG Revolution already, just a little bit larger. Just compare it side by side. Not too much of a difference. The Replenish is just a little bit thinner there. But then we compare it to iPhone. This is the 3GS. And of course we have the 3.5 inch screen here versus 2.8. Just about the same size there. And then we've got the side by side. And the iPhone in this case is just slightly thinner. So that gives you a general outlook of how the phone compares in size to some of these other biggies. And that is our overview of the Samsung Replenish with Sprint, going for $50 with contract right now.